So, a warm welcome on my behalf to this information event on competitive tendering of passenger rail services in Finland, which we are organizing together with the Ministry of Transport and Communications, Finland, and Helsinki Region Transport. I'm glad to see so many interested people here in this venue. We actually had to even change the venue due to high interest on the topic, so I hope that this change didn't cause any inconvenience for you, but at least we have a very festive venue for this remarkable occasion. I'm Laura Eiro from the Ministry of Transport and Communication, and will be running you through this morning session. You have an agenda ahead of you. In the morning, we will concentrate on the opening of the passenger services in the whole of Finland. Firstly, you will get an overview of the authorities' functions in Finland. Then our Minister, Ms. Werner, will arrive and present overview of the transport policy issues and of the decision to open up the competition. And after that, me and my colleague will inform you more about this opening plan. In the afternoon, we will then continue with the lead of Helsinki Region Transport on tendering of commuter train services in Helsinki region. Some practical information. The morning session is being streamlined and can be watched later in YouTube due to the high interest. So if you have any questions, I would ask you to use microphone. We have persons here to distribute microphones, so please then wait before having that before posing your questions. The presentations will also be distributed later on, so you will get all the PowerPoints that are shown here today. Many of you have also asked list of participants to be distributed. We will do that after the event, so in case you do not wish your contacts to be distributed, please do inform my staff, Elina here, for example, on that. But otherwise, we will distribute the list after the afternoon session. A few words about us as ministry. Our aim is to promote well-being of our people and the competitiveness of our business. Our mission is to ensure that people have access to well-functioning transport and communication services. So on the other hand, we want to have well-functioning services. On the other hand, we want to enable and foster business activities. Digitalization is buzzword of today, and so it is also in this sector. We want to enable the use of new digital services, and our aim is to create a favorable operating environment for the services and new business models. Here you can see the organization of our ministry. We are responsible for both transport and communications policy, as you can see already from our title. We see a lot of synergy in these two policy areas, and therefore in the beginning of 2016 we actually put these policies together in our organization. So we want to take a holistic view on transport and communications sector as a whole, and we do not want to think transport per transport mode, but see a transport system view instead of that. We see our administrative branch in a way that firstly we need to have networks, that's both transport and communications network layer. On top of that, we need utilization of data, and on top of those we need functioning competitive market which develops services for the customer needs, be it private persons or business. And our new organization is a result of that thinking as well. So you cannot see here specific rail department. Railway issues are in all of these 4 departments. Networks department naturally is then responsible for the network issues, also environmental issues and traffic management. For example, then safety and security of railways are dealt in the data department, as well as robotization, utilization of data, data security issues. Then market regulation issues related to the functioning of the market are in the services department. That is where I come from, and I'm heading the markets unit there. And we have had the leading role in preparing the opening up of the railway competition. Then last one, the governance department is in charge of steering of the agencies and the companies and responsible for budget, for example. Our current minister, Ms. Anne Berner, has been holding this position since June 2015 and comes from the Centre Party. We are quite a small ministry, actually, even in Finland, about 150 persons. But then to complement us, we have 4 agencies and 4 limited companies in our administrative branch. And 2 of them are transport agencies, which both are multimodal. You will get more detailed presentation of their functionings soon. And in addition to that, we have also communication policy agency and then some companies. We are about 2,200 people together in this branch. Then coming to the responsibilities in the rail sector, we as ministry are responsible for preparing legislation. The Railway Act is the main regulatory act nationally, and at the moment we are in process of implementing the 4th railway package into our national legislation. We are also responsible for budgetary funding for infrastructure and PSO services, and we are acting as competent authority in railways outside Helsinki metropolitan area. And then we provide government guidance for our agencies that I was mentioning. Then in the railway sector, Prime Minister's office is responsible for the government guidance for VR group at the moment. You will soon hear more about Transport Agency, who is acting as infrastructure manager, and Transport Safety Agency, who is responsible for the safety issues of all transport modes, and National Safety Authority in railway traffic. So that's the overview of our branch. Now I would like to give the floor to the Finnish Transport Agency on a railway network and its management. So Ms. Virpi Anttila, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Very nice to see you all here this morning. Good morning to all. As Laura mentioned, my name is Virpi Anttila and I'm the Deputy Director General and the FTA. And I will give you a short presentation with my colleague Jukka Rönni about our responsibility. You will get the slides afterwards, so we would go through them quite quickly. And if you have some questions, maybe later on during the coffee break, we will have more time to discuss about these issues. As mentioned in the previous presentation, FTA is responsible for all railways, roads and waterways, and also the data and information, which has an increasing role in the transport sector. The responsibility of daily construction, maintaining or traffic control are done through the contracting companies. FTA personnel is quite small. However, we have over 12,000 people working among the transport sector, and that giving us a role as a quite big infrastructure providing platform for growth. Improving the infrastructure for the needs of transport today and future, of course, needs investments. Large development projects during the last few years has been quite many of those. You will see the ones concerning railway sector dotted in red. And as you see, there has been quite many and is still going, quite many improvement and development projects in central Finland, but also focusing in the railways in South Finland. Also, the work is going on. We have some development projects in the fiscal plan of general government, and this also will aim and focus on traffic fluency and reliability in the traffic in daily basis. Therefore, I would like to also post out the action plan that government has started last year for a reduction of the maintenance backlog of transport infrastructure. So in order to really provide the infrastructure working in daily basis, we of course need to have development projects, but also taking care of functioning and reliability of the existing network. And as you can see, there's quite many action points taken during these 3 years, and quite large amount of money provided for the government, 600 million euros during these 3 years, to really improve the infrastructure and give it to the transport services as a platform for growth. The aims of this money is meet the customer's need, the need that are the passenger needs, but also encourage the digitalization and new services, the transformation that we are having in the transport sector and the possibilities we are having in new traffic services. There is more information about this in our web pages. And also to point out that southern Finland, where especially the focus is on very high density of passenger traffic, we are planning project to enable and to improve the commuter train services, increasing the capacity, especially towards Helsinki, Riihimäki and Tampere, and of course to improve the passenger traffic, the platforms, the transport passenger information that are the mainly issues when you take the daily passenger on transport and railway services. Then my colleague Jukka Ronni will continue in more detailed information about the Finnish rail network and managing it. Welcome, Jukka.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is also Jukka Ronni. I come from Finnish Transport Agency, where I work as a head of Railway Network Usage Unit. And I'm here to give you a short presentation about the Finnish railway network, plus some of our works. First, about the network, characteristical for a Finnish network is that 90% of it is single-tracked. But especially when concerned southern Finland, we have double-tracked from Helsinki to Tampere, Kouvola and Luumäki, and also quadruple tracks in the commuter train areas near the Helsinki. And the newest track was taken into use, the so-called ring line that connects Helsinki center to, for example, airport. It was taken into use 2 years ago. And some general information of our network. The length is almost 6,000 kilometers, and as every presentation should have one mistake, I also have that in the second line. The maximum speed is 220 kilometers per hour. Maximum axle load, especially concerning the freight trains, is 25 tons. The lines, all the main lines are electrified. Interlocking system and centralized traffic control covers also most almost all our network, as well as the automatic train protection, which is based on balises, not continuous train protection. And when we're working in Finland, the operation language is Finnish. So as I come later on, some of our guidelines, they are only, unfortunately, at the moment available in Finnish language. But we're doing some translation on the way. And the reason I took the passenger and freight charts here is to point out that most of our lines are used with a mixed traffic. So the freight and passenger traffic are using the same tracks. The only exception is maybe the Helsinki region and the commuter train area here, where certain tracks are only for the passenger traffic. Okay, then some more information. More information about our network you'll find in our network statement. We've been releasing them, I guess, for 15 years now, and we are doing it according to the European guidelines. So there you'll find the information about the access conditions and more detailed information about the network itself. It's published annually for the next timetable period that starts always in December. And in Finland, the network statement is legally binding document concerning those things that are mentioned in the Railway Act. And you can find our railway network statement in our Finnish Transport Agency's net pages. Another important thing is an access contract that the Finnish Transport Agency makes with every railway undertaking, also for the one timetable period at a time. And there it's possible to agree more detailed in the practical arrangements concerning the operation that specific railway undertaking is going to use or do. And there's also one thing mentioned, that basic services listed there below are covered by the basic infrastructure charge, and the exact information about the infrastructure charges are also presented at the network statement. Concerning the passenger traffic, the basic charge at the moment is 0.13 euros per gross ton kilometer. But as I said, mentioned, the more detailed information is found at the network statement. One thing that is included in the access contract is the performance regime. I don't have more details in my presentation today, but I understood that Ministry of Transport and Communication are also presenting a short report afterwards where the existing detailed knowledge of that is also presented. And our goal is make more or less similar access contracts with every railway undertakings, and normally we start the negotiations at the September so that they be ready for the next timetable period before it started at December. One thing we are responsible in the Finnish Transport Agency is the capacity allocation. And the situation at Finland at the moment is such that all the railway undertakings are doing their capacity or timetable planning, and it's our role to fix the applications together and grant the capacity. It's done again according to the European guidelines for regular traffic. and the next timetable period's capacity is granted normally at August. But in Finland, it's very typical to apply also that ad hoc capacity, mainly concerning the freight transport. For example, last year there were 75,000 ad hoc capacity applications that we handled. And one typical point of Finland is that we have our own system to control those applications and take care of capacity, so-called liike system. But we are working at the moment for a common interface based on the tough TSI requirements. So it's not ready at the moment because at the moment there's no need for it, but it will be ready when there's need for it. Second last slide, I'm not going into details, but the reason I took the punctuality with my presentation is that it's a common goal for a railway undertaker and the infrastructure manager, and we take it seriously. We have a continuous negotiation with the railway undertakings, how to improve the punctuality and diminish the delays in our network. Also, yes, there's more detailed information in the report that will be given you afterwards. Last slide, some useful links. There's a certain web page. Its Finnish name is Rautatiemarkkinoille, entering the railway markets, and it's now under translating in English. It should have been finished by now, but even yesterday we have had some difficulties, but soon it be ready. There's again general information addressed especially for the railway undertakers who are about to enter Finnish railway markets, where to find information, who to contact, and what kind of arrangement you should do. Then again, as I mentioned, the network statement, it can be found in our agencies' web pages, and also in our web pages you can find more information about Finnish rail network. I mentioned the guidelines, the third row, tekniset ohjeet. Unfortunately, those are at the moment only in Finnish. So they are, at the moment, we are not able to translate them all in English, but if you have anything to question about those, please don't hesitate to contact us. And the last thing is I like to emphasize is open data. We are releasing quite a lot of information of the traffic in the rail network in the open data interface that you can find there. That data, DigiTraffic, it's been open a couple of years now, and we are all the time increasing the information you can find there. And already there are some active hobbyists that have built quite interesting and fine applications over that open data. And in general, when it comes to Finnish Transport Agency, our network and our role in this project, I'm the contact point. I'm not probably able to get the right answer to all your questions, but I'll find the person who can fulfill your needs. And please don't hesitate to grab my hand here during this day. I'm here to help you. Thank you.
Thank you, both Virpi and Jukka. And as Jukka mentioned, we indeed are preparing a written report on the information that is being provided here today. So we are hoping to distribute also that on Friday to you. Next, we will have a Finnish Transport Safety Agency and Heidi Niemimuukko. I believe that we have time for a couple of questions before coffee break after Heidi's presentation, if there are any at that point.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's delightful to see so many here today. As mentioned, my name is Heidi Niemimuukko and I work for Trafi, the Finnish Transport Safety Agency, and I work there as head of department for organization services. Trafi is responsible for authority functions in Finland. That means we regulate and supervise the whole transport system. In addition to that, we also participate in active improvement of transport safety, and we also promote environmentally friendly transport solutions. For railways, Trafi is the national safety authority, which is required by EU legislation. And I will go into our tasks a bit later. We also have a regulatory body in Finland, and that is organizationally a part of Trafi, but in its functions, it is completely independent. The basis for our operations obviously is our mission statement, our vision, and our values. And the main pride in our actions is actually how customer and service oriented we are. So we are very much trying to give added value to our customers. And in order to do that, we play an active role in different EU and international forums. You can see here on the slide under the rail sector that the European Railway Agency is mentioned. That's not the only EU forum we participate in. We also are a member of quite several Commission task forces, and there are other forums in EU where we play an active role as well. But we also promote influencing inside Finland as well and try to lead an active discussion with our customers. We currently have around 500 employees. Roughly 1/3 of our budget is allocated from state budget. And in addition to our regulatory functions, we also have some taxation functions, and that is about vehicle taxation in road traffic. We also maintain registers for all means of transport and their drivers, and our operations are based on legislation and obligations specified in different international regulations. They can be EU or wholly global regulations. And also our targets are set by the Ministry of Transport and Communications. As for our organization, you can see that we have encompassed some elements of a matrix. We have the normal, or let's say the normal line organization, where we have rail services, and you can see the red boxes. We have a sector for transport operators and sector for transport system and development. There are transport information, and in the transport operators we have personnel licensing, organization services where I come from, and infrastructure services. But as a matrix and as a horizontal service in our organization, all transport modes have a dedicated director, and our rail sector director is Yrjö Mäkelä, who is sitting in the back. Well, he's waving. So he is responsible for rules that we publish, and also for customer work, which we also do obviously in line organization. So we are very much in cooperation together to serve the public. So as our tasks as authority, we are what we call an approval management authority. There are different kinds of approvals and authorizations in rail sector. There's for a railway undertaking, you all possibly know that there is a safety certification that you have to have in order to provide transport services. At the moment, there is a part A, which is the safety management system of the undertaking, and a part B, which then explains how you are able to comply with the national rules. And it's granted for a maximum period of 5 years. A railway undertaking also has to have a liability insurance, and that is something we check, or the existence is something that we check. The rolling stock used has to have a type approval and an authorization to place into service. And every vehicle also needs to have an entity in charge of maintenance, and you can get the approval for the vehicles from us, and the type approval from us. But if you also choose to run an entity in charge of maintenance, you can also get the approval to do that from us. A train driver also has to have a driver's license, and today persons in charge of shunting, traffic control or track maintenance also have to obtain proof of their competency from us. This will change possibly mid next year, and then those other tasks or safety critical tasks will be checked under the safety management system of railway undertakings and infrastructure managers. For railways, we also have some educational institutes, and they and their programs also have to be approved. Today, the institutes will continue to need an approval from us, but the need for programs to be approved is going to change also next year. A part of our approval management is supervision. So what we do and what is the biggest supervision task is overseeing the safety management system of the actors. We also do some technical supervision, whether that's the statewide actors or, like it's written here, the infrastructure and vehicles and traffic, which are intended for local, historic and touristic use. Our supervision is performance and risk-based. That means that we are not just an old-fashioned compliance authority. We will check compliance, of course, but we are more interested in how well you are performing your SMS, the safety management system. And And there, excuse me, we target our resources to those places that are where our resources are needed most. So if we see that some railway undertaking, for example, is struggling with certain parts of their safety management system, that is where we put our resources. Supervision is guided by EU regulation, and we do it according to a yearly supervision plan. We have also published principles on our supervision, and then they can be found on our webpage. In addition to supervision done by us, the authority, EU also requires that actors do monitoring themselves. That is a very important part of safety management, and we check the results of the monitoring the actors do themselves. Railway undertakings and infrastructure managers must report accidents and incidents which happen to them or which they hear about. Those reports are sent to Trafi, and we analyze these reports just as the railway undertakings and infrastructure managers analyze the reports themselves. And these reports form one of the information inputs for our performance risk-based supervision. There is also a yearly reporting requirement where railway undertakings and IAMs have to report the results of their monitoring and actions in their annual safety report. So that's for my part, and I'm sure, yes, I think we have some time for questions, and if Laura wants to lead that one, and you can also grab me my elbow afterwards. Thank you.
Okay, so that's the short presentation of the authorities' functions in Finland. Now you know who to contact when you have questions, but indeed we have a couple of minutes time for some questions right now, if there are any. Yes.
Thank you. I have a question for the FTA. You mentioned that there is an access fee for all the services from the FTA. Do you also have a compensation regime with incentives to secure the open tracks?
Is this open? No. Yeah. I'm afraid I don't know the terminology. What the compensation regime is a. Yeah. Okay. Now I understood it. We are following the used capacity monthly and have the discussions with the RUs about it, and the regime is described at the access contract. As I mentioned in my presentation, the more information about it is given in the report that will be provided to you afterwards.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Good morning. I have a question for the safety agency. I would like to know how long does it take to get the safety certification for a new railway undertaking?
The EU regulation says that once you've sent a complete application, we have to grant you it in 4 months. Having said that, we hope that you will pre-engage us before handing the application. That will speed up the process. But we try to do it as quickly as possible.
So you are usually able to manage it in 4 months, because in Italy we need about 8 or 9 months. Also, if we apply the same regulation, but we involve the National Safety Agency before, and then all the process need about 8 or 9 months.
Yeah, it probably takes this, roughly 6 months or 8 months. But like I said, once you've sent the complete application, and so far I haven't seen a complete application sent the first time. So there's also always well, the applicant has been forced to add something every time, so that the reiteration takes time. But like I said, we try to pre-engagement really speeds up the process.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but as Heidi said already previously, we are here to serve the business as well, so we encourage you to contact the authorities as early as possible when you are planning to come to the market, so then we can make the process as smooth and as quick as possible. Any more questions? Doesn't seem to be the case, so now we have a coffee break. Coffee is served on the hall to the left of this hall, and we will come back at 10:15, and our minister, Ms. Berner, will join us that time. Thank you. So, welcome to the latter part of our morning session, and now I have honor to welcome to the stage Minister of Transport and Communications, Ms. Anne Berner, who is speaking us about the general policy overview and the overview of the railway reform. Welcome, Madam Minister.
Thank you, Laura, for the introduction, and thank you for the invitation to be here with you today. And warmly welcome to you here to Finland and to Helsinki. I would like to introduce to you a little bit the thoughts that we have in our ministry about the transformation of transport and communications, which we see are more and more integrated with each other all the time. When we look at what are the most important factors or disruptors, if we want to say so, in our field today, these are digitalization, the technological development, and decreasing or the need to decrease our emissions. Transport and communications serve as our drivers when we look at growth and the kind of development that we are having in our societies. Finland has changed a lot in the past 100 years. We look today at the growing urbanization, our demographic changes. We have a constantly higher level of education, an improved standard of living, and also a huge leap in productivity. One of the enablers for all of this has also been the way we move goods, people, and services, and how we organize our communications. Services and our networks have developed a lot in the past years, and some of it we can see in these three disruptors. Digitalization basically enables us to create services, and it makes it possible to enable door-to-door services, travel chains, mobile applications, and payment services that allow us to have more and more competitive services with having your own car. It has been extremely important for us that we utilize digitalization to its maximum, and that we actually can see development of new operators that can use the possibility of sharing capacity and also enable one kind of a ticketing system. Transport is becoming much more servitized, and we are moving from our self-servicing into creating more and more service. It's also becoming more a field which is consumer-centric, user-oriented, instead of having it authority-driven. This also creates a huge change. At the same time, the technology developments in all our fields of transport are moving. Automation, self-driving cars, drones, automation in shipping are a reality which is not that far away. Most of it and most of the technology can be applied already today. For us, it's extremely important that the rails are a part of that development, and that if we use and are able to use the best and utmost of technology development, we are truly able to benefit society. If our ambition level is not high enough, we will always only benefit individuals. And so for us, it has been extremely important to create a transport policy that truly benefits all of society. Climate change is something that we can't ignore, and it's also something that has and is affecting all of our values. All of us take more consideration about how we move, what kind of footprint we leave, and what kind of choices we have. So when we create travel chains, we can do it based on the time that we have and the time that we can spare to move from door A to door B, on the money that we are willing to spend for that same travel, or on the footprint that we are willing to leave. And also in this view, railways have an important role. We see and are committed to reduce in Finland the emissions from transport from the level of 2005 by 2030 with 50%. The more we work on this, the more we also see it's not an easy target to meet. And it does need structural reforms. One of those structural reforms has been in creating a new part of legislation. For Finland, one of the ambitious parts of our legislation has been the creation of what we call the Transport Code. The Transport Code is integrating all pieces of legislation in Finland that considered and are related to how we create services in the transport field. So we would no longer separately regulate the taxi market or the bus market. Everything is under one umbrella, included in one piece of law. And that piece of law is now developed in 3 phases, the second phase just being passed on to our parliament. What we are aiming for is to enable a market that we call mobility as a service. With this piece of legislation, we want to enable the combination of transporting goods, people and services in the same law and in same vehicles. We also want to create and enable an ecosystem that can create door-to-door services and also enables operators that can use the full chain of travel. At the same time, it is extremely important that we look how we handle data. The Transport Code is one of the first pieces of legislation that creates obligations for the private sector to take a digital leap in the sense that all that are servicing are required to work on an open data surface. So those open data essentially include, for example, information relating to schedules, stops, prices, availability, and accessibility. This way, we can make sure that for the user, customer, client, citizen, we are creating truly competitive chains of travel that can be paid with one mobile system. What we want to achieve is also, from a point of view of infrastructure, a bigger picture. Finland has always and often been referred to as an island when we look at transport networks. In the future, we are not seeing ourselves as an island. We want to see ourselves as a hub for data, people and goods, and for the transport and traffic of those. Not only do we see that Finland is already today for airlines and for air travel, a hub between Europe and Asia, but we will also be a hub transferring data from China, Japan, over Russia, through Norway and Finland down to Central Europe by connecting with a data cable these countries together. At the same time, we also see that the future of the Trans-European transport network should extend itself all the way through to the Arctic areas. We also can see that on rails, in the future, we are able to move goods and people from the north of Norway all the way down to Berlin. This, of course, also needs further investment, but also strong commitment to the development of railways in our country. In a few weeks, we will have the first trains leaving from Kouvola all the way to China, Xi'an, and hopefully creating faster, better, and also more competitive connections between Finland through Russia and Kazakhstan all the way to China. So railways have an important possibility not only to change the logistical position of Finland, but also to connect the important cities in our country. We are a city or a country of long distances with importance of speed constantly becoming more important and more a competitive advantage. From the ministry's point of view, it is important that we look at transport and communications as a holistic network. Today, in our passenger transport, we have a free competition and open market on land, on sea, on air, but not on rails. So it has been important that we also enable efficiency and productivity in our transport system as a part not only for our competitiveness, but also how we create a good everyday life for our citizens. Today, for the Finnish household, the second largest expenditure is our transport. It's been almost 20 billion euros in the year 2012. For our companies, the part of our logistics has been up to 13% of turnover. So how we create a possibility to extend services, create a competitive environment, and to make sure that we have a good competitive system needs that we have an integrated, holistic market. So transport on rails needs also to be open to competition in order to increase our customer-centered services and also our competitiveness. It has been important for us that we create a level playing field and that there is a trust among those who are interested in this market, and that there will not be any discrimination against different players. In this kind of environment, we have to make sure that railway operators have access to all services associated with operation, including passenger stations, terminals, and service facilities on equal terms and in a competition-neutral manner. This is something where the Ministry is very much committed. We have been working on a railway reform since the end of 2015. Some of our objectives have been to increase and diversify the supply of passenger and freight transport services, to promote a fair competition, and to reduce the costs of the freight transport, to increase the attractiveness of rail transport. The aim is to increase the share of our rail transport in passenger journeys, and the current figure of approximately 5% has been too low when we compare that it has actually been the same level since 1990s. There we are far behind when we look at our benchmarking countries. We would like to enhance the mobility of workers by extending commuting areas. As I said, we are a country of big distances, so that our urban regions, big cities and counties could also provide regional and local rail transport services, and that our transport can be organized in the future also by counties that could be a supplement to the current service level that we have. We would also like to see that we improve the efficiency of the service provision and that more transport services can be done within our public support and that we have more transparency in the way that we use taxpayers' money. We also would like to see that we can promote employment in the railway sector and that there are and will be created favorable conditions for economic growth. When we look at our key decisions that we have made so far, our key decisions by our government have included that passenger rail services will be open to competition in stages, and that the comprehensive availability of these services across Finland will be secured under concession contracts. Tendering processes will be organized in stages based on open and transparent criteria. And here we would like to see that the objective should be that all transport on rails should be open to competition by 2026. We need to see that we have a level playing field and that we have neutral terms. And therefore, we will organize 3 different state-owned companies that will be separated from our company VR Group, a rolling stock company, a maintenance company, and a real estate company. All of these companies will be fully owned by the state. The concession contract should give an exclusive right to provide passenger rail services, and that we have today will need to be renegotiated. And so the level of passenger rail transport services should be safeguarded, and all rail operators will have equal opportunities to provide services today. These are some of the main points, and the objective for that should be that the new contract packages to put out to tender in stages so that the services under new contracts will be up and running in the full country, like I said, by 2026. The first passenger transport package will be open for competition in the southern Finland region rail services, and about that my colleagues will tell you later today. I hope that this will give you an opportunity and an interest in the market that is about to be created. We see it that in Finland our government's role is mostly to be an enabler and to also make sure that we are agile ourselves, but that also we have the ability to work together with a mobility concept that hopefully will carry us many stages ahead, and that we will be able to create new services and service levels that really increase the passenger amounts that we have today, so that we can see a development that meets our targets, both in reduced emissions, but also creates an interest for further investments into our infrastructure. All of these are important for us, and therefore I'm very happy that this meeting has been able to organize today, and hopefully you will get all your answers that you need, and that there will be further contacts established between all of you. Thank you very much, and good luck today.
So, thank you, Madam Minister, for setting the scene also for the rail competition that we are implementing at the moment. As you heard, the transport sector is in great turbulence, and rails are, of course, an essential part of that, and we want to see a competitive rail sector as part of the mobility services in the future as well. I'll now continue with the information on current arrangements and then provide an overview of the implementation plan of the government's decisions that Minister just explained, and then my colleague Elina will continue to the southern Finland region. After that, we will have some time for questions if you have any. So, at the moment, as you are well aware, we only have one operator in the passenger services, the state-owned VR group. Ministry of Transport and Communication is for the moment the authority who gives licenses for operation, and for passenger operation, VR is the only license holder. Then in freight, we have 3 other license holders at the moment: Fennia Rail, Ratarahti, and Aurora Rail. We do not have any legislative barriers to market entry at the moment. However, there are contractual arrangements in place that in practice lead to a situation where we only have one operator at the moment. As explained in the morning, we, the Ministry, are the competent authority in long-distance transport, and Helsinki region transport then is competent authority in the Helsinki region. And we both have at the moment contracts with VR. The ministry and VR has conducted a contract on exclusive right to passenger rail transport, so that the VR is the only operator who can operate on the routes that it is operating in our network. Then in return to that, there is some obligatory traffic that VR is driving. In addition to the commercial traffic and this obligation traffic, the ministry also purchases services from VR. And the current agreement between us was concluded in 2009. Originally, it was in force until the end of 2019, but then in 2013 it was decided to use the option clause that is there in the agreement and to prolong the arrangement until 2024. And that agreement covers other areas in Finland than the Helsinki region. And then on its turn, Helsinki region has its exclusive right contract with VR until June 2021, and that is the topic of the afternoon then. Jukka already showed you the situation with passenger flows in Finland at the moment. We are a sparsely populated and large country, which obviously poses some challenges with respect to well-functioning public transport system. We have about 18 inhabitants per square kilometer, and the population density is highest in south, and that can also then be seen in the passenger flows. It's concentrated on certain routes. Last year, some 12 million journeys were complemented in a long-distance passenger transport, and then 63 million in Helsinki regional transport. However, the passenger kilometers were much higher. In long-distance transport, about 75% of all the passenger kilometers. The transport agency gave some information about capacity already earlier, and the situation where we have mostly single-track network is also one of the challenges that we need respond to. We reckon that the major increase in passenger numbers also requires infrastructure investments, as our Minister too stated in the beginning. However, already the current network allows for some increase in passenger numbers. Especially the Helsinki rail yard and the connection for long-distance traffic between Helsinki and Kerava are in high use. That is something that we are considering at the moment, what should be done to ease that situation. Here you can see the current division of passenger transport in Finland. As Minister said, the portion of train passengers has been around 5% since 1990s. It's below the EU level, and that is something that we now want to change. We have the ambitious target to increase that number up to 8% by 2030. Also, something that is very specific for Finland is that we use very much passenger car for transport. It's about 3/4 of the trips. And what we want to do is not to divide the train transport market. We want to shift passengers from the private cars to the public transport and transport services. So we believe that there is a great demand for mobility services, and we see that the rail transport will be a part of those multimodal mobility services in the future. Here you can see the development of rail transport in Finland since 2005. And as you can see, during the last years, the passenger journeys made have been increased remarkably. On the other hand, passenger and train kilometers are going down. The reason for this is that the bus competition was opened in 2009, but due to the grandfather clauses, the real competition started in 2014, and it has had a remarkable effect then to the prices in rail and domestic flights as well. So the passengers have benefited for the pricing developments of that. I referred to the purchase and obligation traffic previously. This is the situation at the moment this year. So we support purchase services from the state budget around by 30.2 million a year. Now the government has proposed to increase that sum by 2 million per year for the next 4 years. Then on the other hand, is running so-called obligation traffic, and in our agreement it is stated that it can be maximum worth of 20 million euros a year. These both arrangements are in place until the end of 2019 at the moment. So then moving to the future tendering that our minister already gave some overview about. We went through different kind of models during the preparation phase, and on the basis of that ended into the concession agreement solution due to the reason that I described earlier. We have a wide country and passenger flows are concentrated on certain routes. We want to have availability of the rail services on all the network in the future as well. And that is the reason why these concession contracts in the future will also include public service obligations. We wish to keep the service level at least at the same level as it is today, with the increase over time then obviously in our country. Even though there are some obligations, we on the other hand want to give freedom to operators to develop their business functions, and the contracts are planned to be net-based contracts. We also want to have open and transparent criteria, so every operator stands on equal footing when entering to the competition. We are still in a very preparatory phase for the details of these contracts. At the moment, the proposal is that there will be 5 different sections in Finland, and southern Finland region will be the first one of them. The other ones will be decided now in the preparatory phase of the process. However, we want to have contracts where there is also competition between different operators on the main routes. We also reckon that as the agreements will be rather long, plus minus 10 years, there needs to be a flexible negotiation process to make some adjustments over time. As stated, the transport sector is developing quite fastly, and I believe that neither we or you do not know everything that is happening in 10 years, so we have to prepare and be agile for the needed amendments. We also want to encourage for new business models, use of technology, digitalization, combining other transport modes to the rail services, and obviously we also want to pay attention for responsible human resources policy when we are preparing the tendering. The decision to start with the southern Finland rail services was due to its smallest amount of the journeys of all the other contract areas, and as it's very easy to start with that due to issues related to rolling stock. For example, it is different rolling stock that what is used to long distance services, and we want to have a smooth transition when we are then continuing to the other concession contracts. We also have been planning the timetable together with Helsinki Region Transport, which today also implies, so that the processes are not too burdensome for the operators who are interested, and also not for the authorities, but we will have a smooth transition for both of these tendered transport in place. We also want to ensure the railway safety in the future. Finland is above the EU average at the moment, and that is the situation where we also want to stay at minimum in the future when we are moving to the multi-operator environment. As the current agreement between us and VR is in place until 2024, this timetable implies that that agreement needs to be renegotiated between us. And then by 2026 we would have all the concessions agreements granted and the operations started. You all are familiar with the EU's fourth railway package, which aims to an open and non-discriminatory market entry to national passenger services. We have followed that principle in our preparations and used the framework that is in the railway package as a guideline. To ensure real competition, we have decided that the three companies will be separated from VR to create a level playing field, and those will be rolling stock company, maintenance company, and real estate company. So that is to guarantee equal and non-discriminatory access to the services. And that also implies that the staff from VR will be transferred to the new state-owned companies, retaining the current terms of employment. For us, it is very important to also involve the staff of VR in this process, and they are represented in the working groups that are now preparing the further steps for implementation. One of the elements of the government's decision was also that the role and competitiveness of VR will also be safeguarded in connection with the reform. So we believe that the company will continue as a competitive rail transport company, and it will be fully state-owned in the future as well. So here you can see the current and future structures. The governance steering of VR Group will stay in the Prime Minister's office as it is today already, and then these 3 new companies will be in the guidance of Ministry of Transport and Communications. As we have the different rail gauges with the rest of the Europe, we have found it necessary to offer rolling stock for the new market entrants. It is quite difficult at the moment to purchase rolling stock second-hand market that meets the approval for EU type approval and safety and interoperability requirements, and also the residual value risk is very different compared to the rest of the countries. And that is why it has been decided that the rolling stock that will be used for the passenger transport needs to be leased to operators under equal terms, and also counties, if they wish to arrange transport themselves, are able to lease rolling stock from the company. The current rolling stock will be transferred in phases, so in the order that the concession agreements need rolling stock, but at the same time we reckon that also new investments in rolling stock are needed with increased passenger numbers, and the first task for this company is to start procurement of new rolling stock for the southern Finland transport, and then also in the future when the transport flows increase, the company makes investments. To enhance the competition also on the freight transport sector, even though it has been open for some 10 years, the competition is only starting. It has been decided that some of the freight rolling stock will be transferred to the company. So in the future, we will have 2 rolling stock companies in Finland, the one that is used for the Helsinki area transport, and the one for the rest of the country, which is then under the steering of Ministry of Transport and Communications. Maybe a few words still about the rolling stock. Obviously, at this phase, we are still preparing the more detailed business plans, operational plans for the companies, but the aim is to really enable to enter to the market for the new operators, and that needs to be then reflected in the leasing prices of the rolling stock. So by no means it cannot be an obstacle for the market entry. We also plan to allow some room for modification for the operators vis-à-vis rolling stock, but that also will be then decided at later stages more concretely. Then to the other 2 companies that will be established, and that are maintenance and real estate companies. At the moment, even though the maintenance market in principle is open in Finland, as well the great majority of the market is still held by the maintenance division of VR, which also possesses the depots in Finland. Those are situated in Helsinki, Turku, Tampere, Kouvola, Joensuu and Oulu, and then there is some heavy-duty repairs and renovations in Hyvinkää and Pieksämäki, and out of them Hyvinkää is now in the process of being closed and then operations to be transferred to the other depots. So we see that to guarantee the real possibility to enter to the market also requires maintenance operations to be then in a separate company. However, it will be noted in the development of the business plan of those companies that they are operating in open markets. After the government's decision, we have progressed onto a working group preparation to implement this plan, and the work has started in August this year. Steering group, which is led by Minister Berner, is following the whole process and giving guidelines for the further procedures. And under that we have 5 different working groups. Project office is a inner coordination in our ministry. And in addition to that, we have a group to plan tendering procedures, that is authorities group to maintain a level playing field for all the interested participants. Then we have a working group on companies that are developing the separation process of the state 3 companies. And there we have representatives also obviously for VR company who possesses extensive knowledge of our rail sector for over 140 years. We also have Ministry of Finance involved in these working groups, as well as our authorities and Finrail. We want to have an open stakeholder process for the further preparations. This is the start of that, and we ask you all to come to us and talk to your opinions of our process and help us to develop the system so that it will create added value for all of us. What is very important in the work is that we want to have the personnel of the VR group also in the process, and there is a separate working group for those issues. The aim is to keep the personnel informed and also get their views on the future processes. And lastly, even though you heard already what is going on in the FTA and Trafi, we reckon that we still need to develop our agility for the multimodal operator environment, and that work is done then in the authorities working group. We foresee that the arrangements as regards the company structures are made by the end of August next year. And soon Elina will give you more details about the planned timetable for the tendering of the Southern Finland transport. So that's the overview. Elina will continue now of the Southern Finland, and as said, after this event, we hope that we will get your insights to the further procedures and can make this a success story together.
Okay, hello everyone, and welcome on my behalf as well to this event. I'm Elina Thorström, and I'm the one who has been sending you a couple of emails regarding this event. And I work as a senior government advisor in the ministry, and I also lead the working group that is preparing the tendering process for Southern Finland regional rail services. My aim today is to go through a proposal for the tendering model for Southern Finland rail services. And as said, it is a proposal, and it is, or we are at the very first early steps at the process currently. So we are hoping to receive a lot of your feedback and comments and views on the proposal. I will go through a certain key guidelines that we have been now thinking of. Furthermore, we are also requesting comments from the municipalities and from other key stakeholders in the area, and also doing a customer survey later on. But let's look at a little bit what I'm going to go through today. So I'm going to tell a little bit about the Southern Finland regional rail services as they are currently, and also provide some information of the area in general. Then on, I will go to the proposal for the competition strategy, and here you can find the few key issues that I will mention. The contract model, obviously, rolling stock and maintenance provisions, also ticket sales issues, as well as the timetable for the tender process. Okay, and in this slide you can see the area that is being covered by this first contract. So as said earlier, this is the first contract to be tendered out by the ministry, and one of the key reasons is that it is the smallest one of these packages. The area doesn't cover the whole Southern Finland area, but certain key routes, and here you can find them. Basically, they are Helsinki to Riihimäki, and then Helsinki to via Riihimäki and Hämeenlinna to Tampere, Helsinki to Lahti, Riihimäki to Lahti, Lahti to Kouvola, and then from Kouvola to Kotka. So these cities these are the main cities that are covered in this area. This contract doesn't contain intercity and Pendolino services, so there are also intercity and Pendolino services in this area from Helsinki to Tampere, as well as from Helsinki to Kouvola. So this contract covers commuter trains that also stop in the smaller stations. Okay, yes, the whole area comprises of mainly commuter traffic, and as already mentioned, those are the key cities in this area. The area also covers or concerns either state purchased services by the state or rail services that the VR has a PSO obligation currently. The whole area comprises of 425 track kilometers, and altogether there are 42 stations. And the last one that is being opened is Henna Station by the end of this year, and that's just below Lahti. In general, there are 23 municipalities overall in the area, and population overall is 1.7 million in 2016, and the population has increased in 12 of these cities within the last 5 years. With the biggest increase has been 1.7%, and the largest increase has been in Lempäälä, Vantaa, Helsinki, Järvenpää, and Tampere. In one city, the population has also stayed the same within the last 5 years. In 10 of these cities that are covered in this area, the population has decreased, but only fairly slightly. So the largest decline has been 0.5% only, and these have been in those cities mentioned in the bottom. On the table on the right, you can also see the population of a few biggest cities in the area. Okay, if we look at the services that are currently offered in the area, there are the turnover of this tendering contract is around 43 million in 2016, and compared to 2015, it has decreased a few million euros. In 2015, the turnover was 49 million euros. And this has been the case because of the ticket sales has decreased, and also because the government's purchase declined in 2016, so it also affected in this area as well. Altogether, the area covers also as nearly 7.9 million passenger journeys. That's an estimate for 2017. And train kilometers are around 5.3 million, and that's also an estimation for 2017. Yes, so if we turn into the a more detailed description how certain issues are divided between the service package between different track routes. Altogether, on a weekday day, there are 192 departures in total, and nearly half of the departures concern the Helsinki to Riihimäki track line. That's the busiest tendered track line in this contract. 10% of the departures leave either from Riihimäki or Tampere, and under 20% of departures concern Helsinki to Lahti or Riihimäki to Lahti track lines. This is around 30 to 40 departures a day. Train kilometers, of course, divide also fairly similarly between different track routes. Altogether, in 2016, there was 4.9 million kilometers in total, train kilometers in total, and in the tendered contract. Helsinki to Lahti track line is the longest track route in this contract, 130 kilometers. Of course, this is when we look at the Helsinki to Tampere track line as two different track lines, one from Helsinki to Riihimäki and the other part from Riihimäki to Tampere. So that is also a different aspect compared to the departures chart. Passengers' journeys in 2016, there were approximately 7.7 million journeys in total, and they also over 70% of these passenger journeys were done in Helsinki to Riihimäki line, and 16% in Helsinki to Lahti track line, and less than 10% in all other service line, with only 1% in Lahti to Kouvola and Kouvola to Kotka track lines. Current rolling stock, there are actually two types of rolling stock in use in this contract. Currently, SM4 trains and SM2 trains. Locomotive-hauled ale and elf carriages were used until June this year. The SM4 trains were manufactured in 1999 to 2005, and they are low-floor trains, and there are 30 of these in use. They were also renovated in a few years ago, and they still have service life, plenty of left. But then also we have in use in this contract SM2 trains, and they were manufactured in the 1970s to 1981, so they are quite outdated already. They are also high floor trains. They don't have much service life left, only a few years, and it's clear already that they have to be replaced during this contract period. Ale and elf carriages were used until June. They were manufactured in 1980s, and there are 57 of them altogether. And similarly to SM2 trains, they are also high floor trains. They still have 10 to 15 years approximately service life left, and they are used together with an SR1 engine. And here you can find also pictures of these rolling stock. Okay, so this was just a very short introduction of the current services in the area. As was already previously mentioned, there will be a longer report of this competition strategy, as well as some key issues such as legislation and authorities' responsibilities and so forth, that we are going to publish. And there you will find more details also of these separate track lines, such as passenger journeys and train kilometers in different track lines in past 2 years. And also, as the tendering process continues, we will, of course, provide more information later on. Okay, but if we look at the competition strategy in general, these are some of the issues that we are trying to achieve. And of course, punctuality and the reliability of services is a key issue for us. We want the services to run smoothly, of course, and also we want to ensure that service level requirements are met, and also that the services are offered in cost effectively. But also we want to offer the opportunity to improve these services in this contract, and also increase the number of passengers in the rail sector. As was already mentioned today, our train services or passenger train services only comprise of 5% of all usage of all transport modes, and we definitely want to increase that number. maybe a bit of a practical note also for us, but a clear goal for us is to have very clear responsibilities between the operator and the contracting authority as we are preparing this contract process and the tender process. Minister Berner already gave an excellent overview of the transport code and of digitalization, and these also affect in how we have built this competition strategy. So we do want to promote cooperation with other transport service providers and want to promote multimodal travel chains and digital services also in this area. As was already mentioned, the government has decided to open rail services for competition with a concession model. And this means also that the contract will be based on a net cost contract, and this indicates that the operator bears the turnover risk. However, we do see that the contract will need a very precisely defined and carefully determined risk sharing model between the contracting authority and the operator. And we haven't yet decided what kind of model this will be. So this is one of the issues that we hope to hear your comments on and your views. How do you see the risk sharing mechanism should take place, and what kind of issues we should take into account? The length of contract we are proposing would be 10 years. We see this as a fit for a net cost contract, that it is long enough in order for the operators to improve the services, but also that it is not too long in order to be too risky for the operators. And also there will be a possibility of a 2 years option, so that works as an incentive for the operators. But we would like to hear your views also for this matter as well. An incentive and sanction scheme is something that we have also been thinking of. Our idea here is that if it is put place, incentives should be very clearly measured so that they are easily seen through in the contract phase. So one of the issues that we have been thinking of are reliability, punctuality, and the development of passenger journeys, as these are fairly clearly measured or can be found. Yes. Some service level requirements are also being introduced. This is, of course, that there are maybe two key reasons for this. One is, of course, that we want to maintain a good service level, and we want to enhance that and make sure that this certain service level is put in place. And also, the other reason is that there are capacity issues, especially in the Helsinki region, and this also means that we have to take these practical reasons as well taken into account. But these are the main key reasons here. So that yes, that we want to also the bottleneck areas to run smoothly. Okay, but let's turn into the rolling stock and maintenance conditions of what we are proposing. Concerning rolling stock, we are proposing that the operator must obtain the rolling stock on lease from the rolling stock company. One of the reasons for this is, of course, to make sure that the rolling stock has a long-term view of its business in the future as well. The rolling stock company must lease its rolling stock at reasonable prices, as Laura already mentioned, and also on neutral terms. Also, it is clear already, as was stated, that the SM2 trains are to be replaced during this contract period. So one of the first tasks what the rolling stock company should start establishing is with operators and with other key stakeholders of what kind of new rolling stock should be replaced during this contract period. Our aim is that the new rolling stock could be available very early stages of this contract. In addition, of course, the operator may additionally use their own rolling stock as well. Concerning maintenance, we are proposing that the light maintenance will be under the responsibility of the operator, but concerning heavy maintenance, we haven't yet decided of how it should be determined, how the responsibilities should divide. There is the possibility that, of course, that it would be under the responsibility of the rolling stock company or under the responsibility of the operator. Also, we have been thinking of the idea that should it be divided between different train types. For example, newer rolling stock could be the responsibility and their heavy maintenance under the responsibility of the operator, whereas older trains and their heavy maintenance could be under the responsibility of the rolling stock company. But as said, this hasn't been decided yet, and we don't have a proposal for it. So we really appreciate your views. How do you see that this should be divided? Our aim here is, of course, the fact that the rolling stock should be maintained throughout its service life. So in our terms, it's clear that regardless of how the liabilities divide between different stakeholders, that it is essential that rolling stock is taken very good care of. Okay. A few words also about the ticket sales and travel information services. Our proposal here is that the operator is responsible for organizing ticket sales and travel information services under this contract. Legislation lays down some general requirements and also some preconditions for how to organize these services. Transport code was already mentioned, and this is very Finnish specific, and it also affects in this contract. So, for example, some interfaces concerning ticketing must be opened up by all transport service providers. This also includes rail service providers as well. And also in public procurements, we have to take into account the transport code and its conditions. But furthermore, we have thought about that in southern Finland, regional rail services in this contract, some of the main principles would be to have an easily available ticket for all different user groups. It would be also important that information on ticket prices are provided transparently and that they are easily accessible. And also we want to enable the creation of multimodal travel chains. So these are just a few guidelines that we are thinking, but within this framework, the operator would have a freedom of choice regarding the way it will organize these services. Of course, legislation must be then followed so that passengers' rights directive, passengers' rights regulation, and also the transport code as well. Another issue is, of course, that currently in this area there is ticket cooperation with Helsinki Region Transport, and that is to be continued also in this contract period. The cooperation currently works both ways, so HRT's tickets are accepted in southern Finland regional trains to the extent they operate within HRT's area in the capital region. And also it works the other way around, so the tickets bought for southern Finland regional trains are accepted in HRT's trains. So this is something that we want to continue also in this contract. Okay, so these were the few of the issues that we have been thinking so far, and for all these issues we would like to hear your views and comments, and would very much appreciate it. We want to start this market dialogue phase in early stages so that we can make a very clear and comprehensive strategy all over, and also to start preparing the contract documents and tender documents as well. Here you can find the timetable that we are proposing. So we have done the EU prior information notice on August this year. And currently, so we are of course in the information event today, but we are now entering into the market dialogue phase. After the 1 year's period elapses, then we will hopefully be able to publish the contract notice on August next year. So the 1 year minimum period that the EU legislation requires. In the autumn next year, there would be a preliminary selection process where we will select the operators for the negotiations, and then the negotiation phase starts. And our aim is to get the invitation to tender published in May to June 2019. And hopefully we will be able to sign the contract by January 2021, and the operation starts then on June 2022 altogether. Yes, that was not mentioned, but the submission of final tenders would be then in June 2020. But we are happy to hear your views also on this as well. We have also given attention to HRT's plans, which you will hear more about later today in the afternoon session. Okay, so how we are now going forward is that all this material that we have presented today will be available on our website, and the report that has been already mentioned a couple of times will be published hopefully on Friday, I think. And we will of course send you the links to these materials. We hope to receive your informal comments by 22nd of October, and you can send them to me and to Sissi Kohtala, who is also here today. And we will then gather your comments, and also we are also asking comments from the municipalities of the area and other key stakeholders, and after receiving these we will then define and fine-tune our competition strategy. Yes, I think that was all for me for now. As you can see, we are in a very preliminary phase currently, but we want to open this dialogue with you and hopefully also get a point of contact in your firm that we can be in contact with at later stages as well. Okay, I think now it's time for more questions and comments. Thank you very much for your attention so far, and we are here at your disposal, so feel free to ask any comments, and we try to answer them as best as we can. Any comments or questions? No? Very comprehensive, I presume. Okay. How much is the... Okay. Well, if there are no comments, we have plenty of time now, so... Okay. Okay, yeah. If there are no comments, Olli-Pekka would like to say some words as well. Okay, and if you want to think about certain things and then ask later on, that's possible as well. And we will, of course, be here all day available, so you can come and grab my hand as well. So, thank you.
Thank you, Elina. So my name is Olli-Pekka Rantala. I'm Director General of Services Department in the Ministry of Transport and Communications. And I just would like to say on my behalf also thank you all for participation and for your interest. This has been a very important day for us. It's a kickoff for a long process. And as you have heard from the minister and from my colleagues, that a lot of further discussions are needed. So we need your views in order to make the best possible model for Finland. Luckily, Nordic administrations, transparency is a trademark for Nordic administrations, but I dare to say that even in this scale, our Ministry of Transport and Communications has a very good track record in open and inclusive working methods. So you can be sure that we will be available for all your contacts by all means, by meetings, phone calls, emails, social media, whatever is the most convenient for you. But thank you once again, and now it's time to break for lunch, and the afternoon session will be chaired by HSL. Thank you.